All right. Good afternoon, Tolu. How are you today?
I am great. Thanks for having me. Super excited to talk about direct demand. It's one of my favorite things to talk about outside of soccer, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're really, really excited to have you too. It is something that we're putting together with the podcast because people in the field really, really love to hear from folks like you about specific topics. And so I appreciate you taking the time with me today to go over some things about direct demand that, the BDMs can use to help them position that a little bit better in the field. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So Tolu, a lot of people probably don't know you specifically and what you do for the company. So do you mind taking us through that? So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Oyo.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tolu Babalola. I've been at Oyo about a year now, running growth. So I lead the growth team that sits out of US, and we work very closely with the global growth team. And when I say growth, I'm talking direct demand. So that's stuff like app, websites, call center. We focus on making sure we drive a lot of traffic to those channels and optimize the conversion on those channels. We also deal with a lot of things like photography and content. So if you're wondering how do these professional photos end up on, your property's websites, it's my team that focuses on things like that. So yeah, that's a high level 3,000 feet explanation of what I do. Obviously, I have a team based out of here, and we also have a team based out of India.
Awesome, awesome. So direct demand, the application you mentioned, the website, call center, and you also mentioned a little bit about photography. So let me ask you specifically about direct demand. How do you recommend that the BDMs out there in the field position direct demand to an owner?
Yeah, I mean, so I think I can see how this gets tricky a little bit. The easiest way for me to describe the job that we do and the impact of it is, when you drive a lot of traffic and a lot of visitors through your website and through the direct demand channels like app and call center, oftentimes these people are more loyal, right? So these people are involved in the ecosystem. They would keep receiving emails from Oyo, keep receiving text messages from Oyo, uh, telling them more about the property and more reasons to visit your property, versus the folks that you get on OTA, right? Like the people that come through OTA, those guys are gonna go in there just searching for property in XYZ city. Those guys are not loyal to a specific brand, right? They'll just look for what the cheapest one is or the property that's offering deepest discount at the time. And so that's one area that, if you start thinking about it that way, if you are able to drive a ton of your traffic through direct demand channels, these are people that are going to stay long term. They're going to come back. They're going to keep booking. The other aspect of this is just the price side of it, right? Like when you have folks who book through the OTA channels, then you have to pay OTA fees versus the direct channel. And the OTA fees are always much higher than the fees that you pay, with people coming through a direct channel. So it's in your best interest as the owner of a property to increase the number of people that come through the direct channel, because not only are they going to be cheaper, but they're also likely to keep coming back, booking over and over again, and more likely to refer people. Just to give you some, very high level numbers, on average, if someone books through a direct demand channel, in the next 3 months, they come back once, they come back at least two more times, right? So versus the OTA channels where it's hard for you to really even communicate with them to try to get them to come back. So that's one side of it. I think the other element is, for folks that come to through the direct demand channel, we're seeing a case where 1 in 20 people refer another friend to come to Oyo and potentially book your property. So all of this, are reasons, good reasons for you to try to optimize or maximize the number of people that come through the direct demand channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really liked what you said about the type of customers that come into these hotels when they are booking through a direct channel. I feel like that's something that not a lot of people think about, that the folks that are coming through, the Oyo application, they're going to keep coming back, right? Because they're loyal to the brand and not so much to any other OTA. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you think about the fact that, somebody already has this app on their phone, right? And last time they stayed in Oyo, Dallas, for example, and say Oyo, Dallas South. And, the next time they're visiting Dallas, all they do is they open up their app again and we're showing them, hey, last time you were in Dallas, you were in this place. Would you like to book again? And they also know they keep earning loyalty points by staying with Oyo. So all of these incentives, just it makes it a no-brainer really for people to want to keep booking through the direct channels.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but also the email campaigns that we have for those customers who come back, and the referral programs and things like that that keep re-engaging those guests that to want to stay at the hotels again, right?
Absolutely, you're spot on there.
Awesome, awesome. So let's move on to the next question that I have for you in regards to direct demand, and that's going to be around results. So, what type of
Mhm.
results have we seen from direct demand in the US so far?
Yeah, so I think I would like to talk about this in almost from two different perspectives. I think one, when you think about where we were about a year ago when we launched, Oyo in the US, there was obviously no direct demand. It was zero, right? And we tasked ourselves with making sure we could get ourselves to 10, 20% occupancy for each hotel that we had. Now, that's always a difficult challenge because a lot of these hotels already exist and people, they have their previous names already on OTA channels, and people are used to just walking up to those hotels. And so like it's difficult to try to capture people from an all new website. But it was something that we were able to succeed with. We started driving occupancy up north of 10%, 15% across the board. So much so that there's properties now where we're seeing, 40, 50% of their occupancy come from the direct channels. And when 50% of the occupancy is coming from direct channels, you're saving a lot of money, right? Because you're not paying OTA fees as much as you used to before. So those are some of the results we're starting to see, right? Where a lot of folks are starting to, a lot of business owners or hotel owners are starting to see significant portion of their visitors and hotel guests coming from this channel. In terms of occupancy, like I said before, we started from zero. Now we're, north of 10%, 15% in multiple cities. In southern US, so like in cities like Dallas, Houston, things like that, the direct channel is contributing 20, 30% of the occupancy of those hotels in those cities. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And the way we're driving this is, we have a lot of campaigns that we've stood up, things like social media marketing, right? So when we launch a new hotel or when a new hotel joins Oyo, we do a good job of making sure everyone who's ever booked a room in that city where this hotel just launched, they get an email from us saying, hey, this new Oyo has launched, you should check it out. When there's a new, city that we have a property, we do a social media post as well saying, hey, there's this new Oyo, we post pictures of it. We even offer discounts in some cases where we say, for your first night in this new property, take X% off, right? We even run ads like Google ads, right? We run Facebook ads, things like that, just to drive. And if you think about it, when we do things like that in bulk, consider the expertise of the people that we have on the team, folks who have been doing social media campaigns and like running Google ads for several years. The expertise that we have on the team means our cost of acquisition is much lower than if individual hotels try to do this themselves, right? So by doing all of that, like I said, we've been able to significantly increase the contribution from the direct demand channel to these properties. So much so that a lot of hotels in Houston, Dallas, in some of our flagship cities are starting to see almost half of their hotel guests come from the direct channel.
That's really awesome, and that's really good to hear. And I tell you that when I first started here at Oyo back in August, that number was definitely not anywhere near the 50%. So it's really great to see that we have been growing, and that hopefully with the push from the BDMs, this is something we can continue to focus on, and we can bring that number even higher, right? Because it is really in the benefit of both owners, guests, and also for us for that number to continue to grow.
Absolutely, and there's no reason why that number won't keep growing, right? I'll give you a quick example. One of the best ways to improve your conversion is by having a lot more data points. So if you run ads on Facebook, for example, there's something called lookalike campaigns. On lookalike campaigns, based on the number of people who've come through that Facebook ad that you've run before that have converted, Facebook looks for people who are very similar to those people. So maybe people who live in the specific town and they travel quite often, like the people who've converted before, and it markets, that property to those people. That's how you continue to get more people into the funnel. So the more we increase this number, the more we increase the occupancy number of people who come from direct channels. It's almost like a flywheel, right? Like the more people join Oyo through those ads and through those campaigns that we're running, it almost acts as a fuel that keeps fueling itself and feeding itself, increasing the pace with which we acquire new customers. So I don't expect this to stop. I see almost a situation where like it probably takes you 10 days to go from 0 to 10% occupancy, but because now you have 10%, it takes you a shorter period of time to get to 20. Now it takes you 5 days to get to 20% and 2 days to get to 50%. So I can see a world where as we continue to increase the number of, direct demand visitors that we have to these hotels, there's no stopping there. That number just keeps increasing. It keeps fueling itself until we get to a place where, majority of the guests that come into our hotels are coming from the direct channel.
Absolutely. That's going to help so much with our brand, right? I think it's great
Absolutely.
that, guests are going to be able to just be used to the OYO application, right? And that be their go-to for booking going forward. So can't wait
Exactly.
for, it's almost there, right? But I
Yeah.
cannot wait for it to just be the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on our way there soon enough.
Soon enough, absolutely. All right, Tolu, let's go ahead and move on to my last question for you today, and that's going to be around competition. So we've talked so much about OYO direct demand, right? We talked about the website, the app, the call center, all the things that we do to grow our business. So in your opinion, how does OYO's direct demand compare to its competitors?
I will say we've been able to bring in some of the very best talents in their specific fields to come work on the direct demand side here at Oyo. We have, folks who have come from years of experience working at Google, coming in and doing the SEO, which is the search engine optimization here at Oyo. We have folks who spent several years running ads at ad agencies, top class ad agencies, now working at Oyo, running ads on Facebook, on Google, on Yahoo for our hotels, right? So in terms of how we compare to competitors, I like to just point to the quality of people that we have doing the work. We have some of the very best talent around, and that's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing. Going from 0 to 10% occupancy, and in specific hotels and specific towns, we're seeing 40, 50%, contribution to the occupancy from the direct channel. That's credit to and testimony to the work that, the talents that we have are doing. We have a lot of people who spent many years also growing the business in India, and we've taken the learnings that that group of people are seeing growing the business in India, and incorporated that into what we're doing here, and adding the knowledge that we have of the U.S. landscape and even at the city level, right? Like, what are some specific areas in Dallas that people like to go to, and what would they search for on Google if they were looking for hotels in Dallas? Things like that. We've tried to incorporate that with the learnings that we've taken from the team, that have been able to build a successful business in places like India and China, to really build, a solid team that's now pushing, these numbers out at a very rapid pace. So, to answer your question, when you say how do we compare to competitors, I just say we have, arguably the best talent around, and that always gives you an edge when you have the best people doing the work.
That's right. It definitely is all about the people.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right, Tolu. Well, that was the last question that I had for you. So again, thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with me. I am sure that this is going to be super valuable for the field. Again, they love to hear from people like you. So thank you for your time. And thank you for teaching us a little bit more about direct demand and how to position that with our owners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lili, for having me. And hopefully this helps educate folks in the field. And I look forward to us continuing to grow the number of hotels that we have.